Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. A couple of weeks ago, we had Aya Ananda Bodhi here from Washington State, and she led us in a 3-day retreat on metta. And I want to jump off of some of those beautiful teachings that we received. And I'd like to call the talk Magnificent Metta-cine, because that is what it is. And this teaching on metta, this divine abode, this very, very, very beautiful place for the mind, heart to dwell, to be able to visit, to be able to cultivate, is absolutely central to our lives, to our meditation practice in particular. And this summer, someone came to visit and they shared something a lay teacher had said. And unfortunately, I can't remember the name, so I'm not crediting the person properly. But in an interview, someone was reporting, coming into an emotionally difficult state and, feeling tight and blocked, and that then they had, turned to metta. And the lay teacher said, "Oh, yeah, the metta comb over." And this is sometimes how we view metta, like I'm desperate, so I'll do metta. I'll pull that out of the toolbox. I'll do the metta comb over. And so today's talk, I want to discourage us from the metta comb over, talk us out of it, and show how incredibly central this understanding, this way of viewing and receiving and experiencing our lives, how fundamental, foundational it is in the Buddha's teachings. Ayakema speaks about these divine abodes, these Brahma Viharas in Pali, as the four emotions that the Buddha is promoting, is saying yes to, and so many others are misguided, they're misinformed, and they're not useful, they're not helpful. Absolutely central. And so metta, this is a Pali word, and it's related to mita, it's related to friend. And some translations are loving kindness, loving friendliness. Venerable Analayo uses benevolence, very, very beautiful, just benevolence. And I've said before many times, Beth Upton chooses to translate it as acceptance. All of these, whichever one is the most helpful for you and that you resonate with the most. And last spring, I was talking about this amazing teaching from the Abhidhamma about all the mental factors that are in the wholesome mind, in kusala, mindfulness being just one of them. And I think that we all know from our experience, this teaching from the Abhidhamma, we've experienced it, that when there truly is mindfulness there, there's a whole other collection of beautiful mental qualities. One of them being this metta. And you can even think of metta as non-ill will. This is really what it is. When ill will is cared for, when ill will is unpacked, when we are able to disentangle from our aversion, what is left is this acceptance. It's this metta. It's this allowing, including, caring for, witnessing, welcoming. So much of our lives we spend resisting. We spend resisting, pushing away, shoving under, denying, manipulating. And metta is none of those. And this teaching from the Abhidhamma about the kusala mind, and all these mental factors, I think that this is why Ajahn Brahm is choosing now to not talk about mindfulness, but talk about kindfulness. This is that quality of non-ill will. I've shared it before. For me, this really hit home. This non-ill will and how really, truly beautiful that is when it truly isn't there, when the ill will is subsided. The day my father died, and it was like 2:30 in the afternoon. We're just sitting in the living room of where my parents lived, and he's sitting in a chair, and it was very clear for maybe an hour, hour and a half. The death rattle was there. He was dying, and my sister was there. I was there. My mother was there, and we just surrounded him, and it was very peaceful and very loving, and a lot of acceptance, including him, knowing he was dying and really accepting it. And what happened is after he died, within minutes, he had been an alcoholic, that, the 54 years of their marriage, and my mother was full of hurt, full of rage, full of dissatisfaction. And when he died, that just died with him. It just evaporated. All that ill will. It just, it just, it like you could almost physically see it just melting away. And I was 50, I think. And I remember looking at my mother, like seeing her for the first time. I saw this different woman because the ill will was gone. Non-ill will. Non-ill will. And we can learn this, and we can practice this in our lives, and starting with ourselves, starting with what's here, what's happening right now, and then it can radiate out and spill out, and it's the most powerful thing. And this is the beginning, the middle, and the end of the Buddhist path. It's what it is made out of. Non-ill will. So this retreat with Ayananda Bodhi, what was so noteworthy for me, and so powerful, was it was a 3-day retreat, and I would say we spent the first half, like day and a half, just receiving metta, just breathing it in. She started by talking about, no matter what, there's somebody in the world somewhere around the clock practicing metta, meditation, emanating metta. And we can be breathing that in. We can be receiving metta. We can be filling ourselves up. And there was one person on the retreat, this was so powerful for all of us in so many different ways. One person on the retreat, literally, their heart literally cracked open, and they were crying for hours, just weeping, just allowing the heart to not be protected. and allowing the heart to feel the pain of being a human being, feel the pain of our lives, all of those disappointments and these betrayals and these missed opportunities and this misseeing and misunderstanding and misreceiving. Very, very powerful. And people were being very creative. I think this is one other thing. Forget this meta comb over. Let's be really creative. And I just want to encourage everyone to give yourselves a lot of permission. Play around with metta. Make it real for yourself. There was one woman on the retreat that, it just came to her. She just was imagining this lotus in the heart area, and this lotus was like soaking up, breathing in metta. And then when she would breathe out, the lotus petals would open. Whatever, for myself, I have a couple of memories. They're innocuous. You wouldn't even notice, but something happened in this exchange with this other person in my life that my heart just was really open somehow, and I was able to feel seen and feel like I was receiving something important. And it was a glass of water. But and so you can also just draw on a memory that was just something. We all have them, some situation, and often it's you wouldn't even have noticed, except that something all clicked in and you were like completely on the same wavelength as this other person. You just we all have those. You can draw on that when you really felt love. You felt loved and you didn't question it, and you didn't get mixed up in all that. I want to swear, all that crap in our head about I don't deserve it. It's not trustworthy. It's going to go away. Like all the ways that we tangle ourselves up. Be creative. We can be very creative in our metta meditation. For me, another huge thing is that song, What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love. I mean, I could cry thinking about that song. Sometimes I play it. Uh, songs can do this for us. That song is metta. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing there's not enough of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Listen to this. Not just for some, but for everyone. This came out in the United States in 1965, right in the middle of the Vietnam War. Burt Bacharach, and they were hesitant and they were shocked at how beautifully it was received. It goes to number 7 on the charts in the United States. In Canada, it went to number 1. We weren't ripped apart as a nation with the Vietnam War, not as ripped apart. So yeah, please, receive metta. We must receive metta. We must be able to receive empathy, and we must be able to have that like circulate around and around and around in our own nervous systems, in our own hearts, in our own minds, because these practices are these radiating practices, and so it has to be warm and full and real here before there's any possibility of radiating it out, because these are the instructions. The Buddha is instructing us to, just as to myself, to everyone, not just for some, but for everyone, starting here, starting with this one, and then the instructions about it being boundless. Venerable Analayo helped me so much with this because I used to always just feel like it's not bound. It's like it's not boundless. Uh, like this idea of boundless, filling the universe, filling the cosmos. But Venerable Analayo points out that, another way to think of boundless is just without a boundary. Just take the boundary away, and he will guide people in this radiating metta meditation by just sort of imagining that they're in the shower, yeah, you're just receiving all of this beautiful, beautiful metta, you're breathing it in, and then you pull back the shower curtain from the front of you, and allow it to go as far as it needs to go or wants to go or does go. That's sort of the non-issue. That the instruction is just to remove the boundary, remove the barrier. Just this accepting, this including it all. The things that are so hard for us, the things that we don't understand, the things that we hate. Just remove the boundary. It doesn't hate 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 goes nowhere. Just causes pain. And then Benvolio talks about then on this side, you remove the curtain. You just draw it back, and then draw it back from the back, draw it back from the other side, above, below, not just for some, for everyone. Yeah. And the other huge takeaway for me from the retreat with Ayananda Bodhi was when she began to speak about the Metta Sutta and the instructions in the Metta Sutta, the sutta that we chanted at the beginning this morning. And she can say this because she trained at Amaravati, which is a monastery in England. And she said it. We can talk about our own family. We can say things about, we don't want other people saying things about our family, but we can't. And she just was sharing that monastery, there wasn't a lot of emphasis on study. There wasn't a lot of emphasis on sutta study or Pali study. And what we are used to chanting is a translation of the sutta from Amaravati. And there's a verse that is not a good translation, and it actually is confusing and misleading. And that is the 7th verse, where the translation we are used to chanting is, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one, this is the instruction, should one cherish all living beings. And this is problematic. Partly the word cherish, and this is very, doesn't sound like there's any kind of equanimity or non-attachment, things that we cherish and we're usually very attached to. And the other part that's problematic is it's kind of drawing this parallel. Again, sort of underscoring this idea of pretty strong attachment, of comparing the way that a mother feels about their child and the way that they will, ruthlessly protect their child, their only child. So we should be considering all beings in the world, like all beings. We should be cherishing them, and this is misleading. A much better translation is from Bhikkhu Tanisro, also Bhante Sujato, where it clarifies what this simile that the Buddha is giving really is pointing to. And a better translation is, just as a mother protects with her life her only child, Even so, this is the connection. Even so, should one, this is the instruction, develop a boundless heart with regard to all beings. And this is the relationship. The way that a mother protects her child, her only child, this is how we want to protect our own hearts and protect our own metta practice. That with that much intensity and care. The instruction is, even so, should one cultivate a boundless heart with regard to all living beings. Makes much more sense. It's our relationship with our own heart, and to understand that this is the point of metta practice. It's for our own hearts. It's not about what happens out there. It's about my own heart and my own relationship with what's happening out there. And the last thing that I want to share from this beautiful retreat with Aya Ananda Bodhi is this other aspect of metta, which I've sort of been pointing to, hinting at all this whole talk, is this idea of acceptance, this idea of including, this idea of universality and unconditional. This is the quality of metta. People don't have to do anything, earn anything, including things within ourselves. It all needs love, all of it, the whole thing, even our defilements. We need to come into a caring, warm, understanding, non-resisting relationship with the most immature, unattended to, difficult parts. This is our job for each and every one of us. And there's wonderful suttas that I think really help us open our hearts, open our minds to this kind of acceptance, this kind of inclusion, universality. And they're the suttas in the connected discourses where the Buddha's talking about just how long we've been wandering and roaming in the cosmos, in samsara. Just it's without beginning. And because of that, it's not just, this little life. And it's not just this little family. And it's not just these circumstances. We can accept and include everything because we've been there ourselves. Rapist, benefactor, all of it. Hell realms, Deva realms, Brahma realm, all of it, up, down, round. I'll read. This is the Connected Discourses, Samyutta Nikaya in Book 15. And this is Sutta number 11. Unfortunate. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Savatthi. Meditators, mendicants, followers. Transmigration, rebirth, redeath, has no known beginning. No first point is found of sentient beings roaming and transmigrating, shrouded by ignorance and fettered by craving. When you see someone in an unfortunate state, in distress, this is what we should be thinking. You should conclude, in all this long time, I too have undergone the same thing. Why is that? Because transmigration, rebirth, redeath, has no known beginning. No first point is found of sentient beings roaming and transmigrating, shrouded by ignorance and fettered by craving. For such a long time, you have undergone suffering, agony, and distress, swelling the cemeteries. This is quite enough for you to become disillusioned, dispassionate, and freed regarding all conditions. And the next sutta, the whole same thing, except you see someone in a fortunate state. What you should conclude? Been there, done that. Same, not different. And the Buddha goes on in sutta number 14, and then 15, 16, 17, so many suttas. I'll just read one. Followers, transmigration has no known beginning, same as the other suttas. And because of that, it's not easy to find a sentient being who in all this long time has not previously been your mother. It's not easy to find a sentient being who in all this long time has not previously been your father. It's not easy to find a sentient being who in all this long time has not previously been your sister, your brother, your son, your daughter. And this is a, for some of us it's gonna, I don't know, but I invite you to entertain it. I invite you to just try it on. It 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 can it can it can, attenuate some of the ups and downs. It can loosen the grip. It's just a really opening teaching. I remember early days for me, I think I was still in Anagarika, and it was very difficult for me to leave my children and my daughter in particular. And in this particular scenario, she had lost her purse, and these things were happening, and I was all and I can remember I made a Nandi, just I was all over the map, and she just very directly said, "How many daughters have you had?" And it was like someone slapping me on the face, but in this great way. It just like, oh yeah, like, get a grip, and just this completely different perspective. And then I remember she completely out of character gave me a hug. That was the first time she had ever hugged me. And she slapped me and then she hugged me. And it was Metta-cine. It was. It if that hadn't happened, I don't know if I would have made it. It was a very, very powerful moment. I want to end by reading a poem that Aya Ananda Bodhi read to us. This idea of this need to understand things more deeply, and this need to not do a metta-cine, but really open our hearts to all of life and all of ourselves. And this is by Thich Nhat Hanh. It was written the same year that Burt Bacharach wrote What the World Needs Now Is Love, Sweet Love. And Thich Nhat Hanh is saying the same thing in a much more profound, deep way. Call me by my true names. Right in the midst of the Vietnam War. Don't say that I will depart tomorrow. Even today, I am still arriving. Look deeply. Every second, I am arriving. to be a bud on a spring branch, to be a tiny bird with still fragile wings, learning to sing in my new nest, to be a caterpillar in the heart of a flower, to be a jewel hiding itself in a stone. I still arrive in order to laugh and to cry, to fear and to hope. The rhythm of my heart is the birth and death of all that is alive. I am the mayfly metamorphosing on the surface of the river. I am the bird that swoops down to swallow the mayfly. I am the frog swimming happily in the clear water of a pond. And I am the grass snake that silently feeds itself on the frog. I am the child in Uganda, all skin and bones, my legs as thin as bamboo sticks, and I am the arms merchant selling deadly weapons to Uganda. I am the 12-year-old girl, refugee on a small boat, who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. I am the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving. I am a member of the Politburo and with plenty of power in my hands. And I am the man who has to pay his debt of blood to my people dying slowly in a forced labor camp. My joy is like spring, so warm, it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. And my pain is like a river of tears, so vast it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true name, so I can hear all my cries and my laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up, and so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion. And Thich Nhat Hanh writes about this poem. After the Vietnam War, many people wrote to us in Plum Village. We received hundreds of letters each week from the refugee camps in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and the Philippines. Hundreds each week. It was very painful to read them, but we had to be in contact. We tried our best to help, but the suffering was enormous, and sometimes we were discouraged. It is said that half the boat people fleeing Vietnam died in the ocean. Only half arrived at the shores of Southeast Asia. There are many young girls, boat people, who are raped by sea pirates. Even though the United Nations and many countries tried to help the government of Thailand prevent that kind of piracy, sea pirates continued to inflict much suffering on the refugees. One day we received a letter telling us about a young girl on a small boat who was raped by a Thai pirate. And she was only 12. She jumped into the ocean and drowned herself. When you first learn of something like that, you get angry at the pirate. You naturally take the side of the girl. As you look more deeply, you will see it differently. If you take the side of the little girl, then it's easy. In my meditation, this is Thich Nhat Hanh talking. In my meditation, I saw that if I had been born in the village of the pirate and raised in the same conditions that he was, I would now be the pirate. There's a great likelihood that I would become a pirate. I can't condemn myself so easy. In my meditation, I saw that many babies are born along the Gulf of Siam, of Thailand, hundreds every day. And if we educators, social workers, politicians, and others do not do something about the situation, in 25 years, a number of them will become sea pirates. That is certain. If you or I were born today in those fishing villages, we might become sea pirates in 25 years. If you take a gun and shoot the pirate, you shoot all of us. Because all of us are to some extent responsible for this state of affairs. After a long meditation, I wrote this poem. In it, there are three people: the 12-year-old girl, the pirate, and me. Can we look at each other and recognize ourselves in each other? The title of the poem is Please Call Me by My True Names, because I have so many names. When I hear one of these names, I have to say yes. That is metta.